Meantime, the latest on the international efforts to defuse the standoff between Russia and Ukraine as these tensions are reaching a fever pitch. As Jackie mentioned, Russian President Vladimir Putin met with French President Emmanuel Macron in Moscow as Biden met with the German Chancellor today at the White House. Joining us now, member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Issa. Congressman Issa, wonderful to see you tonight. President Biden saying that the Nord Stream 2 pipeline will not happen if Russia invades Ukraine, but I thought that exchange was particularly interesting. He said, "I promise," when the reporter said, "But it's in the Germans' control. It's not in yours." And then the German chancellor was dancing around the whole thing. He wasn't committing to anything. Your thoughts?
Well, not since Neville Chamberlain said peace in our time have we had so much talk of diplomacy when, in fact, you have an aggressor who has built up a military and intends to use it. That's really where we are. And it's ironic that this is the largest military buildup since World War II. It's clear that Putin wants something out of this, and he will take it by force if he doesn't get it by diplomacy. And that really puts us in a no-win situation. And as you pointed out, President Biden gave away the leverage he had on Nord Stream 2. He gave away the advantage we had of exporting natural gas and fuel. All of this he did in the first year of his presidency.
Yeah, and the language today I thought was particularly interesting, too. Essentially, both sides were saying economic sanctions would be imposed, and Biden said they would be the harshest that we've seen if there was an invasion. And there's so many people saying, with 70% of the troops that Russia needs at the border already to do this, it's almost like you're egging him on to do it. If you wait till he does it to impose the sanctions, you're way too late.
Well, you know, Ronald Reagan famously said that no war in his lifetime was caused by being too strong, and no peace will be achieved here unless we're willing to say that NATO will respond as though it was an attack on a NATO ally. At the moment that you say that and say it with conviction and bring Germany and France into it, suddenly Putin has to reevaluate whether he wants a war with the West on their terms at this time. And I don't think he does, but anything short of that, and he will go forward or get some concessions that America and the world will regret.
And President Biden continues to posture, essentially saying he doesn't think that Putin's going to do it, but top security advisor, national security advisor Jake Sullivan told Fox News Sunday that Russia could invade Ukraine any day. And the White House officials are essentially warning that a full-scale invasion could lead to a human toll of 50,000 on the Ukrainian side. Listen to this.
Any day now, Russia could take military action against Ukraine, or it could be a couple of weeks from now, or Russia could choose to take the diplomatic path instead. It will come at an enormous human cost to Ukraine, but we believe that based on our preparations and our response, it will come at a strategic cost to Russia as well.
Congressman, once the lives are lost, the sanctions seem less meaningful.
Well, not only that, but once the lives are lost, you really cross the line that we haven't crossed since Hitler came over the Czech border. And that's really where we are. We're being tested in a way we haven't been tested since World War II. And so far, we're not passing the test any better than Neville Chamberlain did. The idea that we would negotiate a diplomatic solution to you will not invade this independent and sovereign country, and we made guarantees to them when they gave up their nuclear weapons, and we're reneging on those guarantees unless we put the full force of NATO and the U.S. behind them, and we haven't been willing to do it. And as you can see, to paraphrase the late Margaret Thatcher, Germany's going wobbly on us.
Yeah, no, and I find that really interesting because when you think about President Trump, the first thing that he said was that he was not going to allow Nord Stream 2 to move forward. He wasn't going to give them the green light so that they had this tool and this advantage. But also, he put a lot of pressure on our allies to stand, to really be aligned and understand what the definition of that word is. Here, you've got Germany almost playing both sides of the fence right now because it gets so much of its energy needs from Russia. And so, a different president in office would have produced a different outcome here, but you don't have this president seemingly giving the same kinds of messages.
You're exactly right. And if this president was willing to say, we will provide all the energy needed to ensure that Germany never gets cold, we'd have a very different situation. But instead, we're making this bizarre argument that we can't produce this fossil fuel energy because of climate change, but Russia can. And that is the worst logic I've ever seen, to give them a weapon of energy because, quote, we won't export something that's plentiful and clean here.
Yeah. And when it comes to energy, of course, you know, in our country, we were producing so much energy and on such a wonderful track with that. And now you see what's happening with the price at the pump. It's not just natural gas, it's fuel prices as well. People are really struggling. And so you sit back and say, it's pretty amazing the way he's taken this energy policy and essentially turned it upside down. Now, instead of producing, we're asking Russia as well.
Well, exactly. Our dependence on Russia or Venezuela or other countries that might become hostile to us was a problem we had for decades, and it affected foreign policy. We need to be independent of that in our decisions. Under President Trump, we became independent, and our decisions were not a calculation of whether or not we could afford to make certain decisions. Right now, Germany is making decisions based on a reliance on Russian energy, and that's making them a NATO ally we cannot trust.
Congressman Darrell Issa, great to see you tonight. Thank you so much, sir, for your insight and your time.